Okay, good afternoon. This is Richard Hsu, host of Hsu Untied. Today I'm very pleased and excited to have with me as my guest Gabe Gross, who's a partner at Latham. Gabe, welcome to the program.
Richard, thank you. It's great to be here with you.
So, Gabe, you have a little bit of an unusual background for lawyers, anyways. You have a bachelor's and master's degree in biology and biotech. Maybe start by telling me what made you choose biology in the first place.
Sure, happy to talk about that with you. It's something that's always fascinated me. When I was growing up, my dad was in medicine. He's a doctor. I always liked that part of science. As I went to college, it was something I continued to study. I was fascinated by it. In undergrad, I studied both science, biology, and the history of science. I had two degrees, the second being the history of science. And I just found it fascinating, something that always interested me, how medical progress happened, how it built on accidents and serendipity and good hard research. So I always found it very interesting.
Hmm.
And it wasn't till I was about ready to start law school that I realized there could be a good intersection of law and policy and that sort of healthcare technology.
Well, when did when did the law school thing even come on your radar? Was that something you had thought about earlier? Were you thinking about becoming a doctor at first? Tell
Well,
me.
sure. I thought about that, especially growing up in the household I did, where my dad was in medicine, my mom was in psychology. It would have been very natural to me. But I wasn't finding it particularly fulfilling
Huh.
as I thought about going into medical school. I knew I was very young. I was 20, I was 22 when I graduated. I knew I wanted more school. I had fallen in love. My wife had some more school to do, and I didn't want to leave
Oh.
the campus town that I had lived in. So on a bit of a lark, I literally walked into the law building when I was somewhere in my junior or senior year of college. I just walked into it as I went by it one day on campus, met a guy who became a friend who was a current law student. He said, "Do you want me to show you around?" I said, "Absolutely." So then I discovered that there was this other possibility for my career where I
Oh,
could
interesting.
indulge my love to write and to speak and to engage with people and to perform. Um, and also potentially scratch that itch to stay interested and involved in things that were scientific
Right.
and technological.
So it was completely fortuitous that your undergrad school happened to have a law school, right? I mean, that wasn't by design, that it just happened to have a law school right there.
Yeah, that's true. And I would walk by it every day and was kind of intrigued by it. So that was good luck. And then, as these things go, you start meeting people with similar interests, of course. And I was inspired by one faculty member in particular. It was a professor who was really active in bioethics, who had joint appointments in the medical school and the law school, and I took her courses and found them fascinating. And then, of course, I learned about intellectual property, where science and law really dovetail well, and I took every course I could, and yeah, saw a path where I could both stay at least adjacent to the technology that I found so intriguing, while honing my own skills and craft in the practice of law.
So when you started in law school, you actually didn't know about a career in intellectual property at that point?
Well, I wasn't sold on it. I wanted to be agnostic and open-minded. But pretty quickly, as people, I spoke with and faculty members learned about my science background, they were encouraging me to look at intellectual property.
Yeah.
But what I really fell in love with in law school was trying cases. I remember law was very different than, the biology and chemistry courses I had taken, of course, and even the history courses I had taken. And I found it challenging and difficult.
Mm.
But the courses that were really practical,
Mm.
the evidence courses, the trial advocacy courses, the
Mm.
deposition classes that were really litigation skills focused, those were the moot court team that I joined and the competitions I went into. Those were the things that really floated my boat. So I think it's
Interesting.
no surprise now that I look back that I ended up trying
Yeah.
cases about intellectual property.
Yeah, interesting. So now it looks like you went back and got a master's degree in biotechnology after law school, which is kind of unusual, probably not necessary to be successful as an IP lawyer, but tell me what brought that on.
Yeah, I agree with you. It is unusual and it is unnecessary. Some of the best trial lawyers I know, even in the most technical fields, don't necessarily have technical backgrounds.
Yeah.
This was again both, I think, the combination of having a little good luck and taking advantage of an opportunity. So I was in Madison, Wisconsin. I had my law degree from the University of Wisconsin. I was practicing at a wonderful local law firm called Godfrey and Kahn, and I was trying whatever I could get my hands on. My first case the first trial I ever saw was about election law. The first one I ever did was about a stock purchase dispute. And in a market of that size, you have to be more things to more clients than you do
Yeah.
in a large market where you can really specialize. But I'm so grateful for it because I was trying every kind of case I could, but looking for opportunities to work in intellectual property. And of
Okay.
course, in the life sciences, which I really liked. And I got a call from one of those law professors, that one I mentioned earlier, who mentored me so well. And she had this opportunity she wanted to tell me about, where the school was starting, and not the law school, the University of Wisconsin was starting a new master's program in biotechnology. And they wanted to make it very practical. They
Huh.
wanted to design it for working professionals. They wanted to give business people, for example, the chance to work in a lab. They
Hmm.
wanted to give scientists the chance to work in the boardroom and learn about reading financial statements. So they mashed together
Hmm.
some hard science skills, some business skills. Part of it was sort of like an MBA light, some legal skills. We talked about policy and intellectual property, and they brought together working professionals from all those disciplines
Hmm.
to create this new master's program. So they were just getting it off the ground. They had some grant money, so they were able to offer a deal on tuition, as I recall, and they were looking for working professionals.
Yeah.
So I gave it a shot and was able to go to school on the weekends and I think at night every other week. And after a couple of years, I was part of their first graduating class in their
Huh.
master's
Huh.
in
Huh.
biotechnology program.
What'd you think about it? Worthwhile? It was good. What'd you think?
I am so grateful for having done it. I can't say there'll be no objective way of verifying whether it helped me win a case or land a client, but it certainly, especially for someone like me who had gone straight through school at young ages and
Yeah.
started law practice without having, business experience or really much life experience
Yeah.
by the time I
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
25,
Yeah.
it helped me broaden my perspective,
Yeah.
especially the business type classes. They help me appreciate and better, I think, put myself in the shoes of my clients who were trying to grow young businesses
Yeah.
or run
Totally.
established life
Yeah.
sciences
Yeah.
business.
Yeah. Yeah.
The bench work in the lab was rigorous, and it made me use that part of my brain that once in a while I still have to tap into to really understand the science and the technology that my clients are working with every day. So I love having done it. I'm
Mm,
sure it helped
mm,
my vocabulary,
mm.
my ability to relate to clients, particularly in the life sciences, but even in other sectors too, because I had to think at times like a business person.
Yeah.
So it did add to my toolkit, and I know it's helped. It was only a couple years after graduating, I actually moved to the Bay Area.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it was really because I wanted to work for the Genentechs of the world, for the
Mm,
Roches,
mm,
the big biotech and
mm,
life science companies.
mm.
And I've been able to do that, and that's been very rewarding.
Yeah, that is really cool. Has the program survived since it
It
started? You mentioned
has.
it was, oh, it has. Okay, well, that's
Yeah,
good.
I was
That's a good sign.
in fact I was disappointed I had to miss the 20th anniversary, the 20th
Hmm.
reunion
Huh,
for the
huh.
inaugural class just a year or two
Oh, wow.
ago. But in
Huh.
a sort of full circle moment, one of my classmates has moved out here and taken over the helm of a local biotech in the CRISPR space. So I see that network metastasize as
Yeah,
networks tend
yeah,
to do and
yeah,
spread throughout the country. And some of the people I sat there on the bench with are now in leadership positions
yeah,
and
yeah. That's so
really
cool. That's so cool.
successful
And so
companies.
you were in the inaugural class,
Yeah, yeah,
the
that's right.
first class to go. Oh, that's so cool. That is really cool. So how did you get your first break and actually get to your first patent case? You left me hanging with that story where you were
Hmm.
doing all kinds of stuff. How did you get your first patent case then?
Well, like a lot of lawyers in private practice at good sized firms, when I was 25 and a first year lawyer, I wasn't bringing the clients to my law firm, but I was lucky enough to get staffed on some with some great people. And I tried my first patent case for my law firm for the biotech arm of a large pharmaceutical company in the Western District of Wisconsin.
Oh,
They happened to get sued there. At the time, it was really known for being a rocket docket for patent cases, less so
mhm,
today, but it certainly
mhm,
was back then. And so I tried my first patent case then, and through some good luck, I also got to co-counsel with some lawyers here in the Bay Area who were with large firms that had established patent focused litigation practices. And there weren't as many in 2003, 4, 5 as there are today. That was still a pretty novel specialty in the practice of law. So I
yeah.
got to do one there in Madison, Wisconsin. I had a great time trying the case, learned a lot, and got to work with some folks who were doing it at the highest levels in the biggest markets, and that created some opportunities. So after that trial, I had an opportunity to join a couple of firms here in the Bay Area. I ended up joining Quinn Emanuel, and that
Mhm.
was yeah, in Redwood Shores here in Silicon Valley.
Yeah, got it. So tell me how your practice evolved now. Are you pretty much all biotech, life sciences, or have you done a whole mix of technologies? Are you 100% patent, or you do all kinds of other litigation as well?
I feel really lucky in this way, Richard, in that it's really diverse. I love trying life sciences cases. Patent cases in the life sciences sector are just terrific. Medical devices, pharmaceuticals, biotech. I love it. And I've done a lot of that over the years. That's been the bulk of my practice. But I think owing to that diverse background I had as a young lawyer,
Yeah,
trying every type of case I could get my hands on,
yeah.
I've never shied away from other types of litigation. So today, my patent is much heavier on the trade, or my docket is much heavier on the trade secret side.
Mm-hmm.
I do a lot of work still in life sciences, but not exclusively. Being in Silicon Valley for the last 17, 18 years, I do a lot of work for high-tech clients. You just, if you're not afraid of science or technology, you will learn your clients' cases.
Yeah,
That's what I've
totally.
found. And
Yeah,
so
totally.
while I really like the life sciences cases, I think part of that education, that scientific rigor, teaches you, not to shy away from learning new things, learning new
Yeah, yeah,
technology, and relying on the good experts that we're surrounded by, especially in this part of the country, to
yeah.
help you learn it. So the practice is pretty diverse. I do a lot of patent cases. I do a ton of trade secret cases, the occasional trademark and copyright case, which are really fun. And
Mm,
increasingly, I find myself doing a lot of commercial litigation that where the technology is central to it.
mm,
Breaches of
mm,
license agreements, for
mm,
example, or
mm.
other commercial strategic partnerships where the technology is central to them.
Yeah.
That's a really good use of the skills I've assembled over the years, I found. So it's all technology adjacent, I would say, and frequently in the life sciences.
What's the most interesting technology you've had to wrestle with or learn in your
Oh
patent
boy.
litigation lawyer
I
days?
could tell you specifically, and it goes back to my Quinn Emanuel days. And I actually got to go back to Wisconsin for this case. I was
Oh
out
wow.
here in
Tell
California,
me.
and
Tell me.
we were representing GE Healthcare in some of their medical imaging machines. I've
Mm,
done quite a bit of work in medical devices, and to learn the physics behind the MRI was
mm,
incredible and challenging and difficult. And there's these wonderful engineers in Waukesha, Wisconsin, who are teaching me how atoms tilt and relax and change their
mm.
orientation, excuse me, to create these images. It was fascinating.
Oh
And
wow.
that I would say is one of the most challenging, more challenging than any semiconductor or molecular biology case. It was the physics behind the MRI, it's just genius. That was
That's very
amazing.
cool. What did your doctor parents think about you going into law?
They were, I think, intrigued and curious by it
Mm.
because it was so different
Yeah.
from what they did.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's, I think, partly why it was so intriguing to me.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
sort of knew science in my house. My
Yeah.
sister is an engineer who today runs a nuclear power plant. My dad is a
Mhm.
physician. My mom's a psychologist. No business people, no lawyers. And so I think they looked at it as kind of a curiosity at first. And they were very happy for me and supportive
Yeah, of
of
course.
course, but it
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
pretty foreign
Yeah.
to all of us.
Yeah. Yeah. Are they surprised how much science you actually get to delve into and learn and talk?
I think so. I think
Yeah.
so. I
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
they understand that in a job like mine, in this sort of profession, you don't acquire the depth and specialization that you would if you focused on one technical area for your
Yeah.
whole
Yeah. Yeah.
career.
Yeah.
But they know I really enjoy going from
Yeah.
topic to topic and being conversant and fluent in a lot of different subjects.
Well, when you look back now that you're in this career, you look back on your personality, do you think it kind of makes sense that you would have chosen this as a career? I mean, like, were you kind of an extrovert as a kid, or are you surprised that you ended up gravitating towards being a litigator and a trial lawyer?
No, I look back now and, as one does when you get to a certain age and have enough
Yeah.
years under your belt, you see these patterns. And I feel really lucky I found something that was such a good fit. I love the performative aspect of what we do.
Uh-huh.
Nothing thrills me more than being in court and trying cases to judges and juries. I love seeing sort of the nonverbal connection you make with somebody when they understand what you're saying, when you've mastered that aspect of your persuasive performance and you know somebody's with you.
Mm,
And making complicated things simple to
mm,
teach them is
mm,
just
mm,
rewarding.
mm.
I love it. I think it really does fit the skills well. And I see in one of these full circle moments, I kind of see the thrill of persuasion and communication when I'm working with kids. I've coached mock trial teams a lot over the
Oh,
years,
no.
and I see the light bulbs click, coming on for them, and I see the skills click with them and the thrill they get out of it when they know that they've got, a judge or a mock trial scorer on their side. And I still get some of that same excitement that I see in these young people. So
Yeah,
I
yeah.
I think it fits. I think it was a good fit for my personality, and I got a little lucky in finding a profession that would indulge those things that I enjoy so much.
Yeah, totally. Well, Gabe, this has been a fascinating conversation. I really appreciate your taking the time. I can always tell when someone loves what they do, and that was totally evident today. So thank you so much for sharing your
We
story.
should all be so lucky. Richard, thank you. Really nice talking to you.
This is Richard Hsu and Gabe Gross. Thanks.